Begin today with the shocking details emerging from the Germanwings tragedy. Amid reports, the co-pilot who deliberately brought down that plane was suffering from depression. And Dr. Samadi, I want to start with you. I mean, how common is it, though, for depression to get that extensive?
Well, it's an excellent question you're bringing up. Look, there's about 350 people all over the world, in the globe, suffering from depression. But the question is, how many of them go far enough to be able to take the plane into the mountains? And it's important for people to recognize what are the signs and symptoms of depression. If anything comes out of this, looking at the guy that works next to you in a subway as a conductor, pilot, a doctor, a surgeon, it's good to know what the symptoms are. And a lot of this has to do with if somebody has sleep disturbance, if they are not showing any kind of interest in usual daily activities, if their activity is down, if their energy level is down. And finally, when it all adds up with a psychomotor and they become suicidal ideation is what is really the huge problem. As a pilot, they go through a lot of screening. Under the age of 40, it's once a year. Over the age of 40, they should go through the physical exam and history every 6 months. But the issue with this, you know what it is? They go through the hearing and visual and all of this, but they have no psychological evaluation in this history and physical.
But you know, when we talk about this, we're talking, that's extreme. But yes. I want to bring in Dr. Marc into this conversation because, you know, a lot of us, we say from time to time, oh, I'm depressed. But really, Dr. Marc, how do you know when it's really serious to the point of it's beyond feeling melancholy, where you have to actually get treatment?
You know, you may not know, Arthel. You may not realize it, or you may realize it and you may be trying to hide it. Now, there's 50,000 pilots in the United States and Canada, and I have to say that the vast majority of them are functioning at a very, very high level. So I want our viewers out there to know, we're talking depression today, we're talking depression in pilots. You know, there's problems with some pilots even with substance abuse. There are issues to talk about, but the vast majority are doing thousands of hours a day safely. Now, for physicians to screen and find depression, we're talking about 3,000 FAA-sanctioned doctors who do, as David mentioned, twice a year in pilots over 40. They're looking for general things. You know, is their appearance different? Do they communicate as well? Are they disheveled looking? Are they sad? But a lot of people that are in high-functioning jobs may not admit it. Now, David has a related career. He's a top-level surgeon and has many, many, many years of training with people observing him, actually, not under scrutiny, but they can see the level of function that goes on.
But, Dr. Marc, I'm sorry, I'm trying to
ask him about that.
Pardon me. No, actually, I want you guys to bring the conversation back to the people at home. We understand this pilot was suffering from extreme depression to the point of being suicidal and willing to kill 149 people. I want to talk, though, about the people here watching. You know, are there, Dr. Siegel, I'll go back to you now. Are there times in your life when you might be more depressed than others?
Well, look, there are attacks on this person.
Arthel, that's an
So breaking up with a girlfriend, long relationship, a pilot who is going to tear those prescriptions, knowing that his career is going to end, all of these attacks on him has brought him to the point of saying that enough is enough. Now, there's a story about him saying that one day I will make big enough name of myself and everybody will remember. Well, guess what? We are remembering this, but this is a coward act of jeopardizing your life and 149 other people.
How do you determine this? I mean,
Eric,
how do you? Look, the girlfriend said that he said that he was going to do something. So apparently they broke up. Lufthansa said, the owner of Germanwings says that he passed the tests. So what do we do at home? How do we determine if someone is really dangerous? What medication does work, and how do we treat this seemingly growing scourge of mental illness and depression?
You have to pay attention to signs and symptoms. Simple things that may not really look important to you, that's important. The big question that I want to also...
Things like what, though?
For example, if somebody says, you know, I'm tired, I've had enough, and maybe I just like take a chance. I just came from somebody who was a driver and says we were playing music, and he said I had a rope around my neck, and if my son would not have told me, what do I tell my son if you're going to kill yourself? That was enough for this guy to wake up. So pay attention to details. And then the other question that Marc comes up, if as a doctor, I know we have a HIPAA rules, and you, as a doctor, you don't break those HIPAA violations because of privacy. If a doctor sees that somebody is going to jeopardize a lot of other people, should they go ahead and break those rules in order to save other lives? I know what my answer is, and that in those circumstances, the answer is yes. What do you think, Marc?
No, I actually agree with that. I was going to make that point, too, that that it has to do with observing people's behavior and feeling, are they going to cross the line where public health is involved? Now, Arthel, to your point, bringing it to the viewers, 80 to 90% of the time, depression is treated. And it's treatable, and I would say curable, so that if someone is suffering from severe depression even, they go on antidepressant medications, 80 to 90% of the time they can return to normal function. So we shouldn't sit out here and say, you know, okay, look, we have to have a additional level of scrutiny, additional level of performance for someone who is putting other people's life on the line. But we should understand that depression is an illness. It's extremely common, and it's very easily treated.
Marc, what do you see when a patient comes to you? When a patient comes to you with these symptoms, what do you do? What do you prescribe? What do you suggest?
I'm the front lines on this, Eric, and the first thing I have to make sure as an internist is that I have a rapport with the patient so that they're telling me the truth. I've got to find out if there's changes in their relationships. That's number one, and that may be true in this co-pilot here. Did something happen? Did you have a breakup? Are you getting along with your spouse? Are you getting along with your family? Are you sleeping at night? Are you anxious? I look at their responses. I see how somebody's relating to me. Then I think of therapy. Do they need biofeedback? Do they need psychotherapy, cognitive therapy? If therapy is not working, medication.
What kind of medication is it? It's something over the counter? It has to be prescribed by a doctor like
that?
Absolutely not.
When it gets to a situation like this.
It's something called it's something called, the most commonly used antidepressant medication is something called an SSRI, something like Paxil, Lexapro, Prozac, Zoloft. As a primary care doctor, I can prescribe those, but I also, as David was about to say, have a very low threshold for getting a psychiatrist involved, especially if the patient isn't doing well initially.
But the psychiatrist also has to know when to pull the plug when it becomes like a real mass population jeopardy. I think what he had is probably something called dysthymic disorder, which is a mild chronic depression that goes on for about 2 years, because he had a history of this at the time when he left his training. So just pay attention. But I think FAA is going to look further into how to tighten up things on the plane.
And beyond the FAA, I think our whole country, our medical establishment, I think we have to do a better job in this country, in America, dealing with the illness of mental illness to help people get better.
We should talk about it. It's okay to talk about it.
Well, that's a very good, important point. You know, it seems like it's a taboo because it's a psych disorder. Talking about it is a very good start.
And if you go to your doctor, tell the doctor the truth, and don't try to hide anything, I think.